Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the new moon happening in Aquarius on the 11th of February. And guess whose birthday is the 11th of February? Mine, obviously, mine. I'm not filming this on the day of my birthday, but hey, by the time it will go out, I'm going to be expecting all of you to say happy birthday. Before we dive into the astrology and before I start being cute again, I have a few things that I would like to mention. The first one is the fact that I am a Western tropical astrologer. I know I get these questions quite a lot. All my videos are based on Western tropical astrology, and I'm afraid I have actually nothing to say about other types of astrology out there, especially Vedic. I haven't studied them. I don't practice them. I have no clue, folks. Secondly, I use the whole sign house system. In case you're wondering, I've found it to be the most accurate, both in my experience and in my clients' experience, especially when it comes to timings and forecasts. And last but not least, if you are interested in getting a personalized natal chart reading from me, you can reach out and contact me through my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. There's a few different types of readings that I offer on my website, including live video calls, as well as the audio recorded options only. So take a peek. Now, what is going on the 11th of February, apart from it being my birthday? We have a new moon happening at 23 degrees of Aquarius. And I'm going into the energies of February in general, overall, a lot more in my February horoscope. So if you haven't watched that yet, what are you waiting for? Watch it. On the day of the new moon, by the way, is symbolically marking a new beginning. We have 6 planets out of 10, folks, in Aquarius. It does not get more Aquarian than this. You're probably going to be starting to feel the effects of the full moon, my apologies, of the new moon, not full moon. The full moon is happening later in the month. You're going to start feeling the effects of the new moon 3 days before, and also most likely feeling them 3 days after. What's up with all of this Aquarius energy? Well, I'm gonna go all optimistic once again, as per usual about it, and say that collectively, this is most likely marking a time of beginnings that have a strong scientific and technological foundation. And we are also putting our faith, Jupiter is actually linked to faith, and Jupiter is in Aquarius at the time. We're putting our faith, we're relying our increase in optimism and positivity on some sort of like scientific discovery, some sort of like technological breakthrough. It's very, very likely linked with all of the crisis that we have been dealing with in January and also throughout the entire year of 2020. It's also very likely linked with the economy. There are most likely economical undertones to this new moon. Why? Because at the time of the new moon, we've got Mars in a tense aspect to the new moon itself, and we also have Uranus still in a square to Saturn in Aquarius. The square is not exact yet. My apologies. It's going to be exact on the 14th of February. So this to me sounds like a scientific or technological or resolution or solution or way forward to some of the most urgent issues that are plaguing society at the time. Financial, security-wise, food-wise. I mean, I don't know what's happening at this moment in time in regards to Brexit, for instance, because I'm filming this in January. But there have been challenges regarding the supply chain. There have been challenges regarding food imports and exports. So that's just one example. The farmers strike, I think it's a strike. There's some sort of like farmers crisis unfolding in India. Please forgive me for not having the full information. I try not to get too sucked into the cycle, the black hole of news, but still, we're already sensing the fight coming from the area, the economic area, the financial area, the security and food and resources area in January. The new moon is a way forward. It's a time of enlightenment. Aquarius is most likely going to bring exceptional, out-of-the-box, progressive measures for exceptional times, because we are living exceptional times. The interesting part about the Aquarian solutions, they're going to be very unconventional. I will put this out there from the very beginning. So those people who are very attached to the status quo, who are very attached to the way things have always been done, who are very attached to tradition, are absolutely most likely going to hate the solutions. I don't see them getting on board so easily. There's a certain visionary quality about Aquarius, a quality of seeing into the future. And the annoying part about seeing into the future is that many times those very anchored in the present, and also in particular those very anchored in the past, they don't want to move to the future. Why would we go to the future? There's going to be additional rules, additional regulations coming to the fore, additional restrictions related to social media, related to technological apps out there. There's also most likely going to be some sort of breakthrough related to the way forward for the collective overall as a whole. There can be some sort of initial stages around redistribution of wealth, around redistribution of resources. Not everyone's going to like it. Not everyone's going to be excited about it. There's probably not going to be a lot of excitement in the air in general, mainly because we don't have anything happening in fire, in the fire element at the time. There's a lot of air, there's a lot of ideas being exchanged, there's a lot of theory being laid out on the table. The ones concerned with the pragmatic side of things, with the realistic side of things, will say, that is so far-fetched, you're never going to be able to implement that in reality. There's not a lot of enthusiasm at the time. It's definitely a way out. It's definitely a way towards the future. I am relying a little bit on that exact sextile between Mars and Taurus and Neptune in Pisces at the time of the new moon to soften the deal. But other than that, the collective might look at world leaders and also at scientists and say, are you for real? Where are these ideas coming from? Did you dream them up at night? Are you making these things up? So that seems to be the general feel of it. February in itself is going to be a lot easier compared to January, and March is going to really start looking up. But right about now, a lot of people won't be able to wrap their heads around how the future is looking like. And that's likely to give birth to a lot of insecurity and therefore a lot of frustration. So let's now go through the key elements of how this new moon is likely to play out in the lives of the 12 zodiac signs. By the way, I would recommend that you listen to the update for your rising sign first. You can also listen to the update to your sun sign, but rising sign always first, because the rising sign is your window to the world. It is how you approach the world. It is how the world sees you. It is where your natal chart starts. So if you are an Aries sun or an Aries rising, the new moon is happening in Aquarius on the 11th of February in your 11th house. Beautiful. 6 planets in Aquarius there. There's a lot of mental energy happening in your house of friends, happening in your house of... does mental energy happen? There's definitely like an energy of this happening, of there being like a strong drive to put ideas into practice. So there are 6 planets in Aquarius in your 11th house at the time, and Mercury is in Aquarius, squaring Mars in Taurus in your 2nd house of income. By the way, Mercury is also going to be retrograde at the time, so we are in the middle of a Mercury retrograde as we speak. What's happening, lovely Aries? So on the one hand, you're making a whole lot of amount of plans for the future. You are keen to make the future a reality. You are keen to start putting work into your plans, into your goals. You are also keen to solve any sort of resource-related challenges, because there does seem to be a bit of a strain on your finances at the time, with Mercury squaring Mars and Taurus in your 2nd house of money, and also with Uranus in your 2nd house of money and a tense aspect to Saturn in your house of long-term plans. On the one hand, you may have a very crisp idea of what you want your future to look like, Aries. On the other hand, you may have yet to find all the money and all the resources to turn them into reality. However, that should not discourage you from pursuing your goals, because if there is one thing that you do very, very well is fight for what it is that you want to accomplish. Fight to win. You do not go out of a good battle, and especially when it's a battle for something that you believe in and that you stand up for. There also seems to be tension with friends at the time. There is a possibility that you may be realizing, actually, the circles of friends, the groups of people that I'm a part of at this time, they're not really aligning with my values any longer. So you may be very keen to get away from those who do not support your ideals. And you might actually go for a very clean break and say goodbye to like a friend, or say goodbye to like an entire group of people all together, my dear Aries, around this time. Now, if you are a Taurus sun or a Taurus rising, the new moon in Aquarius is happening in your 10th house of career, with 6 planets in Aquarius and Mercury retrograde at the time, squaring Mars in Taurus in your 1st house, and Saturn in your house of career, squaring Uranus in your 1st house as well. What's cooking? Taurians, if you are not starting out a new job at this time, if you're not starting out on a new career journey altogether at this time, you are definitely changing your status, changing your reputation, changing your place in the world in some capacity, and you're making it very official. And you may be surprising a lot of people at this time, because it seems to be an initiative that is very much unlike you, but essentially you've reached a point of culmination where you can no longer abide by the rules of a source of authority that you don't believe in. You've reached a point where you want to literally break free from a path or a boss or an authority figure that doesn't get you, that is frustrating your initiatives, that is frustrating your actions, and that also does not understand who you have become, because you have been going since 2019 through a process of revolutionizing who you are with Uranus transiting through your first house, and that process is going to continue. You may also be saying yes to an old proposition career-wise, an old opportunity that you may have said no to in the past, but now you're like, you know what? I think this makes a lot more sense now as we speak, with Mercury being in retrograde at the time. Now, if you are a Gemini sun or a Gemini rising, the new moon in Aquarius happening on the 11th of February is taking shape in your 9th house of foreign affairs, of long distance travel, of higher education, of the higher mind, and of belief systems. So with 6 planets in Aquarius over there, you can literally say that your mind is in overdrive. You are ready to embark upon a whole new journey that is changing and that will change for the long run your entire view of the world, your entire life philosophy, your entire perspective. You may be getting ready around the 11th of February, to essentially either travel someplace, and it's, even if it seems small, it's actually, it can prove to be the journey of a lifetime. You may also, some of you might be getting ready to start a new learning cycle in their life. Whatever learning cycle you are embarking upon, it seems to be going beyond just the logical mind and beyond just providing you with new knowledge and information. It seems to be shaping your personal truth, your overview of life. Now, what's also happening at the same time is you're going through some sort of spiritual enlightenment, my dear Geminis. You may be having a new mentor stepping into your life around the 11th of February, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, especially since the planets and the new moon in particular in your 9th house of the higher mind are in a tense aspect, which indicates change and tension to Mercury, to Mars in Taurus in your 12th house. Mercury is actually squaring it. And we also have a square from Saturn in your 9th house to Uranus in your 12th house. So it's a big aha moment. It's a moment of enlightenment that is showing you the new way forward. It's also a time when you may be receiving news related to a trial, related to visas, related to travel plans. And even if it's small at the time, even if the event itself, let's say you hear of some sort of like delay, in the grand scheme of things, over the course of the next year and the next 2.5 years, actually, this event may prove to be a lot bigger than you initially envisaged, my dear Geminis. Now, if you are a Cancer sun or a Cancer rising, like the birthday girl here, the new moon happening on the 11th of February in Aquarius, my lovely Cancerians, is triggering your 8th house of shared resources. This is big. You're getting like you're getting a significant influx. I'm getting excited. You're getting a significant influx of cash, possibly coming from a partner if you're in a partnership, possibly coming from a business partnership. It can also be an influx of cash coming from an investor. So if you are running your own business or if you have asked for funding for any sort of endeavor in your life, you're hearing news of it and you're probably going to get it, and it seems to be shaping your life for the next 2.5 years at least, my dear Cancerians. Now, the tricky thing is that all of these planets in the 8th house, and especially the new moon, they are happening at the same time with Mercury being in retrograde. So if you have been waiting for some time to hear news of this lump sum of money, of this investment, of your partner receiving, I don't know, like return on some sort of investment, it's something that you had knowledge of already, but it took some time for the news to come forward. Mercury is going to be in a tense aspect to Mars and Taurus in your 11th house. So, and also we're going to have Saturn in a tense aspect to Uranus in your 11th house. So it looks like you and your partner might actually have differing views as to what to do with the money. Or if you're getting this lump sum of money from an external source like an investor or a bank, there seem to be some strings attached that you were not aware of. It. You're not very happy with them, but it doesn't seem like you can do a lot about them either, my dear Cancerians. Now, if you are a Leo sun or a Leo rising, the new moon in Aquarius on the 11th of February, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, is happening in your 7th house of long-term partnerships and committed relationships. And also it's the house associated with consultancy. So it's the house where we meet any sort of consultant type figures in our life, such as lawyers, doctors, mediators. Gotta tell you, Leo, there is gonna be literally nothing else on your mind at the time. With 6 planets in this part of your chart, everything is revolving around one specific area of partnership in your life. And also how a new beginning in that part of your life is affecting your status and your position in the world. Because at the time of the new moon, we've got Mercury going retrograde in your house of partnership in a tense aspect with Mars and Taurus in your 10th house of career and public reputation. And also at the same time, we've got Saturn in Aquarius in a tense aspect to Uranus in your house of career and public reputation. So it looks like a structural change in your partnership sector is also bearing a very strong weight. Is that the expression? I don't know. You guys tell me. Is affecting directly your position out into the world, your status in the world, your reputation, and also most likely your professional path. It can be a time when you are either breaking free from a particular status in your partnership sector, or you are consolidating a new status in your partnership sector. It's a very long-term change what you're kicking off now, my dear Leos, because we've got Saturn involved. Saturn is father time. It also offers opportunities for expansion. So you may be realizing, for instance, one way in which this can play out is you may be realizing that in order to move forward in your career, in your professional path, you need a partner. You need a business partner, so you reach out to a business partner. So there's opportunity for expansion. Or in order to move forward with your path in this world, you need a long-term partner to rely on. So it can be a romantic partner as well. Some Leos are going to get engaged at this time. I mean, if you guys don't take your relationship to the next level by the end of this Saturn transiting through your 7th house, it might mean that the relationship is slowly but surely for the long run falling apart. And this is a time of tests for any sort of partnerships that you may have in your life. Karmically, with Saturn there, if the relationship is strong, it's going to last for a very long time. The bond is going to be strengthened. If the bond is not strong enough, then it's going to break, and most likely you will not be going back to it. So this is the voice of karma knocking at your door and saying, you got to take a decision related to this partnership sector in your life. Now, if you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, so the new moon in Aquarius is happening on the 11th of February, 3 days before, 3 days after, in your 6th house of day-to-day work, my dear Virgos. And we are receiving some tense aspects at the time from Mars and Taurus in your 9th house to Mercury retrograde in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health, and also from Uranus in the 9th house in tense aspect to Saturn in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health. So some of you folks are going to be receiving news related to a job that you may have applied for a while back. There's mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, there's opportunity for expansion with Jupiter in the same sign as the new moon. On the other hand, there seem to be some additional rules kicking in that you may not have been aware of. They can be related to contracts. They can be of a legal nature. They can be related to your freedom of movement that you're not necessarily happy with. But on the other hand, it does seem to be a fantastic opportunity for growth. So you might want to think of ways to make it work. If you have a partner, your partner seems to be very, very supportive at the time and encouraging you, my dear Virgos. It can be an opportunity that you may have thought, oh, this is not going to play out, or it's taking forever and a day, especially since Mercury is retrograde at the time. So it does seem to have some sort of connection with your past in general. I would say, my lovely Virgos. Now, if you are a Libra sun or a Libra rising, the new moon is happening in Aquarius in your 5th house of romantic love, creativity, fun, entertainment, passion, hobbies, and you have nothing but love on your mind, Libra. Love, babies, and enjoyment. You seem to have lost your head somewhere in the frenzy of a new relationship. You seem to be ready to move forward with a romantic partner. There's a lot of sparks flying, especially with Mercury in Aquarius in the house of love, in a challenging aspect to Mars and Taurus in your 8th house of intimacy. So there's definite like sexual tension here. On the other hand, you're probably trying to take a decision using your logic and your head and your cool, detached demeanor towards lovers as well. You may not be fully in agreement with the values that your partner has, that your romantic interest has, because let's say that the relationship is not yet official. On the other hand, this person, if they are a person in your life, they can be a passion. They can be a new passion that you discover. They seem to be expanding your view of the world. They seem to be making you wiser. They seem to be making you think about the future quite a lot, especially with Jupiter, the planet of expansion, in the same position. Now, this can also be a time when you start off an important new creative project in your life, such as some folks are going to start trying for a baby. Some folks are going to have a baby around this time. Some folks are going to be talking with their romantic partner quite a lot about the resources, the shared resources involved in raising a baby, for instance. It's a very romantic time, my dear Libras. Now, if you are a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, the new moon in Aquarius is happening in your 4th house of home, family, roots, and the past. It's also the house associated with residence. And at the time of the new moon, we've got Mercury retrograde in this part of your chart, squaring Mars and Taurus in the 7th house of partnerships. And we also have Saturn in this part of your chart in a tense aspect to Uranus in the same house of partnerships. So some Scorpios at this time are going to be moving into a new home. I'm telling you, around this new moon, you're realizing that you're embarking upon a very, very important chapter that is going to eat up a lot of mental energy for the next year at least. But to be frank, probably for the next 2.5 years until Saturn gets out of this part of your chart. You may be required to think very creatively, to think very out of the box, to think of the future, to think of your future in regards to your family, in regards to a family member possibly, also in regards to whether the person that you're with, that you're in a partnership with, has the same plans as you have when it comes to family matters and residence matters. If you are moving into a new place, if you're buying a new place, which is a very definite possibility at the time, there seems to be something about your partner that is not in alignment. There may be some additional negotiations that you have to do with a partner to persuade them to agree with your plans related to your home environment. There's also a very strong possibility that there may be someone who you're fighting with for a home or real estate related matter, and the fight can begin around this time, and you're realizing this is going to take a lot of your mental space, at least for the next 6 months. There's a new structure emerging in your family and home life, but it comes with increased tension. It's disrupting the flow of your existing partnerships in some capacity. So it's going to require a great deal of analysis and objectivity and not losing your temper in order to make things work, my dear Scorpios. Now, if you are a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius rising, on the 11th of February, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after, you've got a new moon in your 3rd house of communication, learning, studying, short distance travel. And 6 planets in Aquarius at this time, there's going to be literally nothing else on your mind except for communicating, traveling, networking, meeting new people, and also learning and studying seems to be on your mind tremendously. You seem to be learning and studying about like anything and everything, and most likely you are becoming very conscious and very aware of the additional skills that you've got to pick up in order to increase your wealth and increase your financial stability, because we've got Saturn, the ruling planet of your 2nd house of income, in close quarters to Venus, to Jupiter, and in Aquarius, in the sign of the new moon at the time. And Saturn is in a tense aspect to Uranus at the same time, in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So you are chewing a lot of work at this time. You may be forming a new work-related connection at this time. You may be embarking upon a fantastically lucrative, with Jupiter there, new work-related project. But boy, does it ask you to move really fast in terms of picking up new information, in terms of connecting with new people. There's a lot of mental tension at the time. And my recommendation would be to keep a cool head, to keep a high degree of detachment especially from the people that you're interacting with at this time, because you may find at times interactions, especially around the new moon, with the co-workers or with the stakeholders in your work, to be quite frustrating, because you have the idea very clear in your mind as to where you need to go, but they seem to need a lot of persuading on your part. A lot of Sagittarians will receive some very big news from siblings. It can be related to siblings' partner. It can also be related to their career. Now, if you are a Capricorn sun or a Capricorn rising, so the new one in Aquarius is happening in your 2nd house of values, with 6 planets there. So every ounce of mental space, Capricorns, is going to be directed at your finances, is going to be directed at your values, is going to be directed at planning for the future in terms of financial stability. You may be bringing in a new source of income in your life. You may be officially sharing with the world the fact that your identity has changed and therefore your values have changed, because we've also got your ruler in Aquarius at the time. You also seem to be bringing in the spiritual enlightenment that you have acquired over the past 6 months, so from June until the end of 2020, into this new set of values, and you are probably starting to push very, very strongly for these values to be applied in your creative work. You may also be contacted by someone to create a big, important creative project, someone who you had been in touch with before, but you didn't hear of them, or they're coming back at you with additional requests for work, and you're probably trying to set up the terms and conditions of what this is gonna look like, of how much time it's gonna keep you away from your family, from your home, of what this means for your private life as well. If you have been waiting for a payment to be made to you for some time, there is a possibility, with Mercury being retrograde in your house of income at the time, to receive news of the payment as well around the 11th of February, dear Capricorns. Now, if you are an Aquarius sun or an Aquarius rising, and happy birthday to you if you're born on the 11th of February, like me. The new moon in Aquarius is happening in our first house, the house of identity, the house of the physical body. We have some tense aspects from Mercury in the fourth house of home and family. From Mars in the fourth house of home and family, my apologies. So Mars in the fourth house is squaring Mercury in Aquarius in our first house. At the time of the new moon, we are literally affirming and asserting to the world, this is it. This is the new me. I'm kicking off this new chapter of my life. I'm coming out of the woods. I've closed some very important chapters in the past 3 years. Now I'm ready to go out into the world and to face the world and stand my ground. And guess what? You're probably going to receive pushback from at least a family member. Because they're not getting you. They're not getting where you're coming from. So this new me, new year, new me, which for you is very, very strong, my dear Aquarius. So a lot of Aquarians will actually change their looks around this time to essentially mark the important milestone in the redefinition of their identity and their place in the world. If you do decide to change your looks, that's okay. I would even recommend going back to a certain look that you may have tried at some point in the past with Mercury retrograde in the same part of your chart. If you go to change your looks, be very careful that you relay the information 10 times to, I don't know, like the hairstylist or something like that, because there can be misunderstandings with Mercury retrograde. You may also need to take some time around the new moon to explain to your family why you're making the choices and why you're initiating the projects that you're initiating and why you're saying goodbye to the old structures of your life, because they might be thinking, oh, but you had such a good setup, you had worked so hard, why are you giving this up? You're feeling energized, you're feeling refreshed. Yes, there has been disruption in your home life. Yes, there will continue to be disruption in your home life. You may be driven by an urge to break free from family and past expectations that are no longer in authentic alignment with who you are, my dear Aquarians, at this time. And you're gonna make your mark on the world, and everyone's watching. Literally, all eyes are on you. It's actually a really good time to launch if you have some sort of like a personal brand or your own company or your own business. I see it as a good time to relaunch it because it bears the mark of the Waterbearer, of the progressive, of the innovator, and especially if you want to launch something that is new and innovative, and that disrupts the status quo. This is the best time to do it. I will say it. Now, if you are a Pisces sun or a Pisces rising, my dear Pisces, the new moon is happening in Aquarius on the 11th of February, 3 days before, 3 days after, in your 12th house of spirituality, of self-sacrifice, of the shadow. It's also the house of hidden enemies. And the 6 planets in Aquarius there are going to make you see very objectively, very, very objectively at the time, one of your at least one of your subconscious belief patterns, your subconscious paradigms, your self-limiting beliefs, and acknowledge how much this may have been holding you back from making your mark on the world. You are looking with increased lucidity and increased objectivity at the parts of your life that you may have been afraid to look at, especially related to your long-term plans, especially related to a sense of belonging, because Saturn is also involved at the time, and Saturn rules your 11th house of groups of people. And you might realize, why have I been trapped in these enclosures and these structures that no longer resonate with me, or that that don't feel natural anymore? The great purging begins. You're probably gonna be you're gonna feel the impetus to start getting rid of friends at this time, to start getting rid of fears, to also start getting rid of beliefs in particular related to your career, related to partners and partnerships. There's a big cleanse that is kicking off at this time. If you can take some time off to reflect and to look inwards, I would strongly recommend it. This purge may be initiated by something that people say, but feeling misunderstood, by realizing actually people don't perceive the way I really am. And it can trigger a deep dive into the self and say, okay, but why have I been keeping all of these fixtures in my life? This is not who I am. Let's get rid of them. It's the big goodbye. So, my lovelies, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to your new moon in Aquarius update. Please don't forget to share with everyone, and with me included, in the comments what's happening in your life around the time of the new moon. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? If you are interested in getting a personalized reading or a consultation with me, you can book one through my website, which is written in the stars-astrology.com. Have a fantastic February, folks, and I'll see you next time.